Welcome to San Diego Comic-Con 2023. I am Joe Deckelmeyer with Screen Rant, and I am honored to be talking to the creative minds for Defiant, the Robert Small story. This is such an incredible story, and I just scratched the surface exploring it. Now, Robert Small, he commandeered a heavily armed Confederate ship and delivered 17 passengers from slavery to freedom. The first African American to captain a vessel for the U.S. Navy. He helped establish public schools, and he was elected to Congress in 1874. And I am just scratching the surface with this. Let's hear more. For those that don't know the incredible journey of Robert Smalls, you're his great grandson. I feel like great great grandson. I feel like you're the best person to talk about this.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, Robert was a young boy who grew up working on a 150-foot side wheel steamer called the Planter, got married, had a couple of kids, and I think, like all of us, he loved his family, he loved his wife, he loved his children, but he knew that the institution of slavery was such that in an instant they could be sold away from him. And he had some independence. He lived with his wife and family, sent his wages back to his master. And to make a long story short, this boat, he noticed that there were nights when the Confederate crew would leave, not to come back the next day. He was the pilot of the boat, so he knew how to sail it, knew all the ins and outs of the harbors, knew that there was a United States blockade outside the mouth of Charleston Harbor, and that if he could get there, that he'd be free. And so, again, to make a long story short, on the morning of May 13th, 1862, the Confederate crew left. He got his family, the other enslaved crew and their families. He put on the top hat and the long coat of the Confederate captain, and in the wheelhouse and in the dark of night, he acted like the captain. He was the pilot, so he knew all the passcodes. There were 5 forts that they had to sail past and give an appropriate passcode to be allowed to pass. And on the morning of May 13th, 1862, they sailed past all those forts to freedom.
That is absolutely
Against the
incredible.
current with a boat laden with weaponry. You know, as the sun is rising, fifth, checkpoint. It's amazing, every way. And that act of courage, before then, there were no black Union soldiers. There
Sure.
were, and there were some enslaved that were fighting on the southern side just because they had to. And he made single-handedly the case that black people should be allowed to fight for the war.
That is incredible.
And so the arguments against were, well, are they brave enough? Are they smart enough? Are they, and he said, well, look, this guy, one guy just outsmarted the entire Confederate, Navy. Maybe there's a shot. Maybe we have a shot, and that's what turned the war around.
Now, Rob, can you talk to me about turning this epic story into a graphic novel, then hopefully a film? And what
Yes.
surprised you the most about your research process while doing this?
What surprised me was how much we don't know. That's the crazy part of it. In fact, we're talking about now doing a supplement to it because there's so much history that we've more or less had to throw out because you're trying to tell the story of the man, and there was so much other contextual stuff that was happening that was just like, oh, didn't anybody know about this? So that was part of my journey as a writer, not a historian. The other part of it was interesting that there were all these chapters of his life that the historians just kind of go like, well, this happened and this happened and this happened.
Right.
One thing was like when he was 10 years old, he had a job as he would sell candy, loose candy to, to kids, for money. He also sold, small bags of tobacco to adults. And then he was busted for like, hanging out late at night with some of the white kids. And they took him to jail, whatever. And Henry McKee, his owner, bailed him out. And then there's like that chapter ends, and then there's another thing like he got a job as a lamplighter. And I'm sitting there at 4 a.m. and I go, he got a job as a lamplighter so he could stay out late. Like none of the history talks about this, but nobody's asking those questions. Nobody's looking at it in terms of a writer and in terms of this guy as a character, like, and that all through his life, there were all these little chapters like that. So that was the biggest, most surprising part of it for me is that these histories, they're told like you tell stories of your pets,
Right. Right.
you never really, it's if they don't make the news, you don't really talk about it. So there's all these like missing chapters. that fortunately come from the family,
Right.
you know, as passed down stories. And then you fill in the blanks and have fun with it.
Now, I'm a big fan of Legion M because I feel like this is a great place where fans can really get behind something like this. Why is Legion M the right fit to tell this story?
Well, for me, what I love is that Legion M is fans of movies, you know, and comic books and things, making product for themselves, you know, for fans. And you know, we're also involved with Kickstarter. Kickstarter is the same thing. It's like the people start talking. And a story like this, the first thing you hear is, you know, as you tell it, people say, "Why don't I know this story?"
Right.
And then the second thing they say, "What do I need to do to tell this story?" You know, people get active right away
Yes.
because it is so infuriating that such a wonderful, inspirational story has not been told and is not on the, you know, on every T-shirt in every high school everywhere. And so that's the excitement and the energy of Legion M and Kickstarter, and you know, it's the voice of the people.
Yeah,
So
and we are at Comic-Con, obviously.
yes.
And I love that we're telling this story through a graphic novel because I feel like that's where a lot of things kind of get mined through IP. Can you talk to me about using something like a platform as a graphic novel and then adapting that into a film? Hopefully, we get the film because I want to see the film. I think that film would be such an epic journey. So, could we talk about the medium of the graphic novel and then adapting that to the film and what the challenges and might be with some of that stuff?
Mhm. Well, I can't talk about the film because I'm a writer and we're on strike. So,
That's true. Yeah, yeah. Good
so,
point.
so I cannot, will not, you know, go Writers Guild. What I will talk about is the graphic novel, and that for it, it is, you got to meet kids where they are.
Right.
You know, if the person whose life will change because of this, I see as like a 16, 17-year-old boy. And you know, because there were so many extraordinary things, so much courage, so much of a if not me, who, if not now, when,
Right.
with this guy, that he seemed to just live that ethos every day of his life. And that's the life you're going to change. You can't do that with a big tome, you know, a big book. You're not going to get that with like a lecture. You're not going to get that with, you know, anything. But you can reach that kid with a comic book,
Right.
and you can speak that language. You can make it exciting because a lot of times these things are dry, and you know, humorless. I'm a kind of a, you know, jokester, kind of a, you know, I like to have some fun with my storytelling. You know, a little laugh for every tear, Disney style. So and in a story like this, there's enormous amounts of, you know, in his humanity, there's humor and there's pathos and there's all kinds of things that are going on. And you can get that across in a comic book and a graphic novel. And fortunately, we have, you know, Ray Anthony Height, you know, the OG, the man, you know, cranking out pictures like nothing. And then, you know, of course, Nicholas Draper-Ivey came in and did some covers for us. We can't get him to do enough covers because everyone he does is like a, you know, Rembrandt. So you know,
Yeah, for real. Those stack covers. Whew.
yeah, so they are amazing, and he just has this great filmic sense and this wonderful humanity to look at the character, and you know, so we are just having a ball with it, and on top of it, you know, and I have to say, it's like so many of these stories are not told from a Black perspective. And so this is unique in that.
Yeah.
And when you look at the story from that, I've got about a guy trying to make a life better for his family, willing to go through death, you know, hell and high water in order to have his family be free. You know, as a clock is ticking and the owners are getting more and more, you know, poor because, you know, they're spending so much money on the war, and it's becoming more and more imminent that they're going to get sold off. This is a man who says, I must do this right now.
Right.
You know, what, you know, like anybody else, yeah, you can kind of look at it, you know, but I always say the story is told differently from the dog than the owner. You know,
Yeah.
and there is a perspective that we have looking at the you know, unlimited things that we're willing to go through for our family to make family, you know, life better for our family, and that's where we start.
Absolutely. Ray Anthony, Nicholas, let me ask you guys this because your guys' artwork is beautiful. What are you most excited to explore telling the story of Robert Smalls through artwork?
Oh, you know, oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. So, um, as Rob knows, like we'll get on a vibe,
Yes.
a storytelling vibe, and just kind of go. And there is well, before any film or whatever, they're storyboards.
Yeah.
Translates right into comics, right? And we talk about capturing those moments and kind of transcending beyond the static image of a comic.
Right.
And that's what we were talking about. We had a great conversation last night. I talked to Chris Robinson about all this stuff. Comics is kind of like where everything starts, right? I mean, we've been telling stories through pictures for centuries, the dawn of man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we still haven't perfected it, but we do find ways in the comic book business to make it exciting, right? And Rob just said, we'll see these autobiographical or historical comics, and they're pretty boring looking,
Right.
because what they want to do is bring the realism, but realism is exciting. Life is exciting, and we should bring that attention. And I think the story of Captain Smalls deserves that type of excitement.
1,000%.
Yeah. So
1,000%. Now, let's talk about the Kickstarter for a second. How can fans get involved and support this project?
Well, fortunately, we almost okay. I'll tell us a quick story because we're on a Zoom when it launched, and we said like, oh, gee, I hope we can get 100% funded. That'll be great. And as we're talking, we're like, is anybody else on Kickstarter right now? Because it's moving really fast, and so we were on, and I think like within a half an hour, we were fully funded, and then like the next.
That Kickstarter, the funny thing is Kickstarter actually went down like a few moments after we blasted the Legion. So we sent an email out to 200 and something thousand people saying, "Hey, we're we're getting ready to launch." And so our joke email the next day was like, "Hey, for those who helped crash Kickstarter yesterday, we don't know if we did that, but we're going to take the credit for it."
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the next day they fired right back in. They went right
Yeah.
back in just as strong.
That's
Yeah,
incredible.
exactly. So all the time, like my wife is funny because she'll go like, "Did you see?" Whatever, because it's just like clicking, 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 which is great. Because for me, it's like if you build it, will they come?
Right.
And you think like, well, maybe the reason why the story hasn't been told is that nobody wants to hear it, and you start to have those self doubts, and then you just see the thing just clicking away, and you go like, okay, good, thank God, whatever. We're this story will be told, and will be told well. And so yeah, for the Kickstarter of it all has just been really fantastic. Apparently, they're like the number 4 publisher of graphic novels, and and from talking to them, they're munching at it. They're really going after it, and so I think we're going to get a better like publicity push. Hopefully, people who are out there now, will just find us. We are a fan favorite. What do they call it? Projects to watch. I believe there, so we're easy to find. Yeah, and you can get in pretty low. Just a book, and we will continue to have bigger and better things at the other levels. Nick's working on another poster, and like I say, we're doing the historical supplement to it, and we'll have more goodies as it goes. But it's Christmas on on Kickstarter.
I mean, look, this is incredible because we are at Comic-Con and I'm talking to creators that are Black that are doing a comic. That's not necessarily something you see with an all Black creative team, and I think
Yep.
that's incredible that you guys are telling this story. Like I said, I was just scratching the surface with this, and I couldn't really stop. I just wanted to go deeper and deeper into this.
Okay.
Talk to me about how the collaboration process with Legion M started, and how that was how that was something that was approached to them, or how'd that work out?
Yeah, I think it started with a meme,
No way.
which is the perfect Legion M story, right?
Right.
There was just this meme of like, Robert Smalls did this and this and this and this and this. Why isn't there, a movie about it? We've made movies about 1 million people. Why not this guy? And a guy named Robert Whitehills, great writer, novelist, went and wrote a screenplay, and gave it to a friend of mine, David Baxter, who I went to high school with. He comes to me and he says, "Give this a read. I think 2 things. One, it's an incredible story, and 2, it might benefit from a Black point of view."
Yes.
And so I read it and I said, yes, it was about the taking of the planter and that kind of thing. And I said, and then at the end, And like again, wonderfully written. But at the end, it was like, and then he did this and this and this and this and whatever. He ran for Congress 5 times and whatever. And he, and he had a publishing concern. He had a railroad. He did everything. He bought the house that he was enslaved in. He, took in the slave owner, and had her live in the house with him. All these things, and I'm like, well, wait, where is this?
Right.
I said the taking of the planter is the beginning of the story. That's graduating from college. The rest of the story is the inspiration of this guy who just never said no, never looked at his own limitations. So I said, if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of take another look at this thing, do some research, and go. And then the pieces just started falling together. We said, well, his great great grandson is just like is out there giving TED Talks.
Yeah.
What if we just call the guy? And I was like, oh hey, he went to Syracuse. What? Whatever. So we both went to Syracuse same year. And so
Really?
yeah, and so it was like, oh great, okay, well you're now my best friend. And this Dr. Maisha Eatman from Harvard has great resource. She's able to get like the census reports from all kinds of stuff, and I start just digging into some of it because there's just big holes
Sure.
in the story, simply because I'm telling it from a human point of view, and what was his thought process, this and this and this. And then we said, well, geez, if we go directly to the streamers, they're going to say, well, where's the IP and whatever, what's this based on? And so we said, well, what if we create our own IP? What if we just say, get a graphic novel together and go again, meeting everybody where they live. And then we had a list. I went to Dennis Cohen, who's the god of all comic book artists, and I said, can you recommend some people? And like boop 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 boop. Top 2 names,
Of course.
because everybody said yes.
Thank you.
Everybody said yes, and I was like, okay, good. Well, off we go, man. Whatever. So let's just have some fun with this. And every frame we see is just. I can't wait to share this with everybody.
I can't wait to see it.
It's amazing, and the story keeps going because part of the research is we start finding out about the other people who ran for Congress and all of these other things, stories that I really, really want to tell. One guy was a backyard preacher, basically illiterate. He ran for Congress. Another guy had grown up, his slave owner, who was also his father, sent him to England. And he became a lawyer in England, comes home to run for Congress. Black guy. Hello, father. I'd like to run for Congress now, right? Along with this backyard preacher and Robert Smalls. And they're all, they all get elected. And I'm like, I have to tell all of those stories.
Yes.
This is, I don't know any of these people. Every one of them is super inspirational. So I we can just kickstart and go and draw and have a ton of fun and rewrite history.
Right.
At a time when people are saying like, oh, we no need to tell the story of the black man in America. It's like, that's what's crazy.
Yeah.
It is our story. It's America, and it's inspirational. And I think it life-changing for a lot of people.
1,000%. Like
Yeah.
I said, I was just scratching the surface, and
Yeah.
there's just so much more. Marvin, how did you get involved in the project?
Oh man. Chris and I have been friends for a long time, and also worked with Bill Duke on some other projects I can't mention right now. But and Chris, like I say, Chris and I have been friends for a long time. I think Chris following my work. I mean, Chris, you could talk a little bit about that as well. Chris following my work, everything that I've done up to this point in my career, well, not everything, but most of the things that I've been a part of have had a real sense of purpose behind them,
Right.
Especially for Black people, and stories that were not told before, and perspectives that we have not seen. So Chris thought, and Bill as well, thought it'd be a good idea if I came on board as a producer early on. We've been working on this for over 2 years now. Again, it was an honor for me to be asked to be a part of it. I think that I know that the Robert Small story is really, in this era of fantasism and comic books being the thing that tells the story to a lot of people about a lot of things, real and unreal. Robert Smalls is a true superhero to me.
Real superhero, absolutely.
And a superhero that I was not aware of, even at the time when, Chris had to break it down to me, and Bill breaking it down to me. And I'm feeling like, a conehead almost, going, okay, well, where have I been my whole life, and why am I hearing the same stories and seeing the same tropes over and over and over and over? And there's these untold gems out there that will really enlighten and empower my people and all people, honestly. I think that courage is a commodity, if you tell the story correctly. So I was honored to be a part of it, and then like I say, down the line, then we got these gem of creators added to the pot, man, starting with Rob, of course, and then Ray and Nick and then Chris.
Chris is
Chris sitting
amazing.
next to me here,
Man.
who again, if you think about it and if you know about it and you do your homework, even if you don't know, it's an all-star team of creatives, man. And I think the legacy of Robert Smalls couldn't be served better by this team right here.
I couldn't agree with you guys more. Look,
The
thank
only
you.
person who could do better would be Robert himself.
Yeah. I mean, we got the next best thing so far. So,
Exactly.
look,
hope to do him proud.
I can't thank you guys enough for stopping by, because this is what I wanted to shed a light on here at San Diego Comic-Con. I am honored that you guys wanted to stop by and talk to us, because this is an incredible project. So amazing.
Screen Rant, of course,
I
man.
can't thank you guys enough.
Yes.
If folks want to follow along with our journey, I mean, this has been quite a journey. We're at defiantproject.com, and you'll find links to all the things that we have going on at Comic-Con. We have a little bit of a party going on tonight to celebrate this Kickstarter, which has still got a few weeks left. And
Yes.
it's already at like 700% funded. So we're just gonna keep going and going and going, because we are all passionate about this
I
story.
mean, this is the dream team of creators right here. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I'm honored. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
me.
man.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Take care.